NTV.
Hi there, it is 1 o'clock on this Saturday afternoon. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Thanks so much for joining us on NTV At One. Now, the Interfaith Council has extended the submission of feedback from the public and interested parties in preparation for the reopening of places of worship to the 2nd of July 2020. The Council has, however, said that the reopening of worship centres will depend entirely on the compliance of the government's and Council's directives. The Council, which was inaugurated on the 17th of June this year, says they've developed a roadmap and guidelines of the tasked activities and their implementation. In a consultative meeting earlier this week with over 400 religious leaders, the Council noted the need to conduct regional meetings to incorporate the feedback from Kenyans. They have urged Kenyans to be patient and hold them in prayers.
We are keen to listen to the voice of God, the wisdom of science, and the voices of our faithful in addressing this mandate that has been tasked to us. In this regard, 1, we invite the public to participate in this process by sending feedback through a memorandum to the Council through its email address, simple to remember, interfaithcouncil@interior.go.ke, to reach the Council by the 2nd of July 2020. 2, to ensure the eventual guidelines are in tandem with our faith traditions and the input received, the Council will conduct 10 regional meetings for validation. 3, we also commit to ensure that this is an open and transparent process, and thus have opened a Twitter account for updates on the Council's activities. Twitter handle @InterfaithC20. @InterfaithC20.
Meanwhile, more than 300 pastors and bishops in Nakuru County now want the government to expedite the reopening of places of worship, saying they have complied with the National and Government Ministry of Health guidelines in preventing the spread of COVID-19 in places of worship. The church leaders say the lack of spiritual nourishment and guidance is also responsible for the rise in domestic and sexual violence, as well as moral decay in the country since the start of the pandemic here in Kenya.
If the church, which is an essential place of worship, a place of hope, moral and spiritual guidance, remain crossed, what is the projection in the next few months of teenage pregnancies, home-based and sexual violence, crimes, among others? We can implement the necessary WHO guidelines and influence the population to adhere to the same requirements.
Elsewhere, a humanitarian crisis is looming in the Mount Elgon region after thousands of residents were evicted from Mount Elgon forest to pave way for afforestation. The residents are said to have illegally encroached public land in the forest.
The residents of Mount Elgon have been left with nowhere to call home after they were evicted by Kenya Forest Service officers in an operation to reclaim alleged encroached land. Their houses were burnt down and the few left standing with no roofs were rained on. Residents loaded their donkeys with a little property they could salvage with no idea of where they would spend the night. Young children and the elderly were all left out in the cold. The residents are counting huge losses after the destruction of their property. They've faulted the authorities for carrying out the eviction in the middle of a health crisis gripping the country and exposing them to the virus. They've now relocated to neighboring caves where they're seeking refuge as they ponder their next move. This comes a week after the Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Keriako Tobiko, warned Kenyans across the country who have illegally acquired the titles, especially in forest areas, to surrender them. Mount Elgon has lost over 10,000 acres to deforestation in the past 3 months. Nayoma Sampau, NTV.
A showdown looms at the Water Sector Trust Fund after a decision by the board chairman, Patrick Kokonyad, to replace the Chief Executive Officer, Ismail Shaye, was opposed by the Ministry of Water and officials of the Trust Fund. Now, Kokonyad, who is already under investigation by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission over claims of misuse of funds, has been accused of holding illegal board meetings to plot the removal of the CEO, with whom he has fallen out with. NTV's Silas Apollo reports.
A letter addressed to the Water Sector Trust Fund Chairman Patrick Kokonyad by Water Cabinet Secretary Cecily Kariuki wants the chairman put to task to explain claims of gross misconduct. Kariuki says Kokonyad has been plotting a boardroom coup of the Trust Fund Chief Executive Officer, Ismail Shaye, a move that the CS terms a gross violation of the company's policies. Kokonyad, who is facing an arrest and arraignment for alleged graft relating to embezzlement of public funds, had early this week written a letter suspending the chief executive officer, but the same letter was nullified by Kariuki, who questioned the motive behind the boardroom coup. Kokonyad and Shaye are said to have fallen out after the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission summoned the board chairman to answer to allegations of embezzlement involving false mileage claims and other allowances. The chairman is said to have accused the chief executive officer of failing to protect him from the investigators, who now say they are ready to prosecute the case in court. Kokonyad was interrogated by the EACC in January.
We are actually moving forward as an institution and trying to implement the projects for the underserved. There are not two CEOs. I think there's one substantive CEO, and I think that is very clear.
Kariuki in a letter argued that the chairman had mishandled board process and deliberation on renewal of the CEO's contract, as well as resorted to using social media to shape opinion on the matter, exposing the organization to bad publicity.
Now, Kenya's COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund, which was launched 2 months ago, continues to receive support from corporate, international organizations and members of the public. This morning, the fund received 5 million shillings from the Retirement Benefits Authority and 2 million shillings worth of personal protective equipment from Bata, Kenya. So far, the fund has received about 3.4 billion shillings, both in cash and in kind, and has begun distributing them, with 1.1 billion shillings set aside for purchasing PPEs for health workers.
This week, or the week ending, we have started dispatching PPEs across 54 hospitals across the country. We have, remember, we have about 1.1 billion shillings, which is designated to buy PPEs for the health workers in the country.
I think the banking sector, we're very proud of the contribution. When you look at its contribution to this fund, I would probably total it at about 1.6, 1.7 billion of the actual monies or in-kind contributions, which shows its commitment. I think you must have seen the governor of the central bank indicating that 23% of all banking loans and advances have been restructured or given loan holidays. They've supported businesses and individuals to actually weather this storm.
The Kenya Scout Association has donated sanitizer, liquid soap, masks and other necessities needed to curb the spread of COVID-19 to vulnerable families. The Scouts kicked off their donations in Nyeri, but will be moving to other areas such as Siaya and Nairobi. They'll also be working with the community to help fight the pandemic, as well as assist with curbing the growing issue of teenage pregnancies. 40,000 adults and 2.1 million boys and girls have currently volunteered themselves as scouts.
Into Kawangware, Madare, and we have not forgotten that we also have Dadaab, where we have a lot of scouts. That is far in the north.
To the coast now, and law enforcement officers in Gongoni, Kilifi County had a difficult time enforcing coronavirus restrictions after hundreds of residents turned up in large numbers for the opening of the market. Kevin Mutai with that story and others making headlines from the coast.
The reopening of the Gongoni market attracted hundreds of residents. Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi had to temporarily suspend his meeting as police officers dispersed residents, some of whom had no masks. Kilifi County has 54 cases of COVID-19, which area leaders attribute to people's disregard of safety guidelines. Also in Kilifi, religious leaders are urging the Interfaith Select Committee formed by the President to receive the proposals on reopening of places of worship to expedite the process ahead of developing safety protocols. Church leaders say churches are critical in uniting the country as well as shaping the fabric of the society. In Mombasa, motorists who have been enduring traffic jams along the Makupa Causeway due to the ongoing construction works can breathe a sigh of relief after the interchange was reopened, improving the traffic flow. According to contractors, the works along the road had been hampered by 11 court cases. A second phase of food distribution is yet to begin in Mombasa. Vulnerable families which have been worst hit by the coronavirus pandemic will be given priority during the exercise. The county has received food packs from different donors, including milk, which will be delivered to the affected households.
Hili ni janga bado tuko nalo, na ingekuwa vizuri kwamba tupate watu wengi zaidi kuja kutusaidia na kusaidia watu wa Mombasa.
Kevin Mutai, NTV, Mombasa.
Time for a quick break on NTV at 1. Stay with us, I'll be back in just a moment.
Sonadol Extra imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli kupambana haraka na maumivu ya kichwa, mwili na hata meno. Sonadol Extra, hakika maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Who wants to answer? Mary?
Mary has a toothache.
Oh, I see. And who knows why?
Because her tooth is too big.
No, it might be a hole in her tooth called a cavity. That's why I brush twice a day using Colgate.
Imagine this is your tooth and these are food acids that cause cavities. Colgate with calcium and fluoride helps prevent cavities.
Who protects our teeth?
Colgate! For maximum cavity protection.
How to burp a baby. Lay your baby face down on your lap. Support your baby's head, making sure it's higher than his or her chest. Gently pat or rub the baby's back, leaving the baby comfortable and without any trapped gas.
Kiss Kids diapers. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Bye-bye rashes. Bye diapers. Choose Kiss Kids.
Mikono juu. Sasa ruka.
Nini? Ulikuwa tayari kuchangamka? Si ungesema.
Changamkia vipindi vipendavyo, vichekesho, muziki, habari za utendeti na mengine mengi. Jione YouTube na Tenbo. Dial *544# and select YouTube.
God. Jana ulipotea hivyo baada ya kupepa ule mtemko pote ukaenda hivi.
Unajua huyo mrembo alinipeleka hadi kwa nyumba. Nikasema mimi siedi kulalisha masikio. Shughuli.
Jamaa mbona mjipendi?
Kwa nini?
Yaani unawezaje patana tu na mtu kwa street alafu uende ukachapiane na yeye?
Kalishizo mashine.
Ulitumia raba eh?
Kwani bado mnatumia raba?
Okay, ngoja niulize jamaa. Nani hapa hivi amepimwa hivi majuzi?
Para kwa Mwangi. Si ni 10 bob.
Sijasema kupimwa weight. Saa hizi kupimwa HIV ni haraka na ni bure. Unaweza pimwa kwa clinic na bado unaweza jipimia kwa nyumba yako wewe mwenyewe na self test kit 500 peke yake.
Niende nipimwe, nijipate ni positive. Unajua hakuna kitu naogopa kama hiyo.
Kuko na madawa na kuko na counseling na utaishi maisha yako normal tu. Kuko na HIV si eti ni mwisho.
Wewe uko nayo?
Mimi nilishapima.
Unapoendelea kujikinga kutokana na HIV, tafadhali zingatia taratibu zote za serikali za kujikinga na virusi vya corona.
Afya bora, maisha bora. Jipime, jiinue.
Have you filed your 2019 tax returns? You have few days remaining. Do it today and avoid the last-minute rush. Log on to itax.kra.go.ke.
Welcome back. Soldiers in the army have proven their heroism, putting their lives on the line for their country and their families. But just like everyone else, their worlds have been affected by the coronavirus pandemic. On the Armed Forces Day in the United Kingdom, Ngina Kirori visited Brigadier Mark Thornhill and brings us an update on how the army is coping in the time of the coronavirus.
Every 27th day of June, parades would lace the streets in the United Kingdom as citizens would come together to celebrate their Armed Forces Day. The same commemorations would also be held at the British Army Training Unit Kenya, based in Nanyuki. But due to the volatile COVID-19 pandemic, the celebrations will for the first time be held on a virtual platform.
The threat that is presented by Al-Shabaab is a shared threat that both the United Kingdom and the government of Kenya is determined to defeat. And so this Armed Forces Day really provides us with an opportunity to pay our respects to the very significant commitment and sacrifice that's being made by many armed forces around the world.
The troops in Nanyuki have also assisted in the fight against COVID-19 by driving sanitization programs primarily in Laikipia and Samburu areas.
Paused the military training that we undertake here. We routinely train something in the order of 5,000 British troops each year, and we have over the last 2 years trained 1,500 Kenyan military.
Kenya has been witness to the brazen and senseless terrorist attacks by the Al-Shabaab terrorist group, and Kenya and the United Kingdom continuously looking at various methods of countering terrorism.
Conducts the greatest number of attacks on the continent of Africa, and so working closely with Kenyan military, we've been able to support the creation of a counter-ID capability. And now over the last 4 years, we've trained something like 1,700 students in preparing them to operate in an IED environment.
1,700 students have so far attended the counter-IED capability training, and while it has been paused due to COVID-19, it will resume in August to ensure the troops that go to Somalia are well prepared. Gena Kirori, NTV.
Now, Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi and 54 MCAs have formed an inter-party political caucus in an effort to neutralise support enjoyed by Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya. According to Governor Kiraitu, the caucus will advance a common political front ahead of the 2022 elections.
The supremacy battle between Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi and his political rival Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya has moved to the County Assembly. On Friday, Governor Kiraitu hosted 54 of the 68 MCAs, led by the Assembly's majority leader for dinner, in what is viewed as a step towards firming his grip on the grassroots leaders. The meeting also attended by the Deputy Governor Titus Ntochio, who doubles as the county's finance minister, resolved to have a common voice.
As leaders, we shall not allow any divisions based on political parties, and we will endeavor to support Governor Kiraitu Murungi and His Excellency President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and we shall desist any attempts by any leader from any corner from trying to divide the Assembly of Meru.
Any other person outside the leadership is an outsider. And when coming, knocking the doors, first, that outsider must be given consent to enter and bring the band or the good news one is carrying.
The meeting between the governor and MCAs comes weeks after another botched meeting organized by CS Munya. Governor Kiraitu accused the CS of planning impeachment proceedings with the MCAs against him.
United we stand, divided we fall. We will use this organization to support our agenda of making Meru great.
The political war has split the county assembly into two.
We will be visiting all the 45 counties, 45 county wards, so that we can see what development we are doing there and what more needs to be done.
The relationship between the two has also been complicated by the fact that they both enjoy a close working and political relationship with President Uhuru Kenyatta.
There's a new momentum. That is why you are seeing ministers coming over.
The new alliance between the governor and the MCAs, known as the Meru Inter-Party Political Caucus, will also see the political leaders campaign as a team ahead of the next general election. Kennedy Muredhi, NTV.
From politics, it's time for the sports news. Here now is Watson Karuma.
Well, I do hope you're enjoying your afternoon. I'm Watson Karuma. Now,
Join Watson in just a moment. Apologies for that audio glitch. I'll kick off the sports news though. Watson, you owe me. Ma Football Club has donated foodstuff to needy families in Magadi in Kajiado West. More than 60 families received maize flour, rice and some fresh produce. Players and coaching staff contributed cash, which will help these families during the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, Ma FC played 2-1 draw with Kajiado West, combined in a highly contested match. All right, that's sorted now. Back to you, Watson.
Well, sports to the rescue, and Smriti to the rescue as well. Now let's go to Italy, where champions Juventus hammered 10-man Lecce 4-0 last night to stretch their lead over Lazio at the top of the Serie A to 7 points. Lecce's Fabio Gioni got a straight red card for a clumsy challenge after 32 minutes. Juve took the lead in the 53rd when Ronaldo fed Paulo Dybala, who clipped a superb shot into the top corner. Ronaldo converted a penalty 9 minutes later after he was fouled in the box. Gonzalo Higuain scored the third goal in the 83rd minute before Delight netted the fourth 2 minutes later. Juventus, who are on the verge of winning the 9th successive Italian title, moved to 69 points after 28 games.
Now he wants to move inside and continue to tease them, and it's Higuain to return with a goal.
Now, defending champions Barcelona will return to the top of the Spanish La Liga table should they beat Celta Vigo tonight. Last night, Sevilla missed an opportunity to move up to third place when they were held to a fourth consecutive draw in a 1-1 score against Real Valladolid. Kiko Olivas put Real Valladolid ahead in the 25th minute after heading home from the right side of the box to the bottom left corner. Lucas Ocampos leveled for Sevilla from the spot 7 minutes to stoppage time. In other matches today, Athletic Bilbao will take on Real Mallorca as Osasuna face Leganes. Now, the FA Cup resumes today with the first of 4 All-Premier League quarterfinals. Manchester United take on Norwich City in the first quarterfinal this evening at Carrow Road. Tomorrow, Sheffield United will welcome Arsenal at Bramall Lane. Leicester City play Chelsea at the King Power Stadium as defending champions Manchester City visit Newcastle United at the St James Park. Meanwhile, Aston Villa will tackle Wolves, and in the only Premier League match that will be played at Villa Park this afternoon. Now, these guys are still celebrating. Now, Liverpool football fans who gathered in for a second night after their team won their first Premier League title in 30 years have been asked to leave by the police. A dispersal order was issued around the city centre after groups came out again on Friday to celebrate Liverpool's title triumph. Police and politicians urged Liverpool fans to stay at home due to the COVID-19. They'll say as fast as Watson, but that does it for NTV's Sport for now. I'll hand it back to Smriti Vidyarthi.
Watson, thanks very much. That is all we've got time for on NTV at 1. Of course, more news coming your way during our subsequent bulletins, so do be sure to tune in and stay with us on NTV because the Nation Leadership Forum, that's NLF, is coming up shortly with Julian Zamboko. For now, I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Have yourselves a great weekend.